Wait for it. Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let the lovely Miss Dante Terese introduce herself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Hello, everybody. It's great to see you, and salutations for all of you who are not on Earth right now. It's great to see you too.
Okay. The next part of the introduction, dear listeners, how we found them, and she actually reached out to us sometime last year, and we had her on to talk about book one of this series when she was still getting it ready to launch. And now the trilogy is done as of airing of this episode, and there's more interesting news about potential film adaptations. So we thought we'd have her back to wrap it full circle. But before we do that, we do have the religion questions. Are you ready for this, Dante?
I believe so. Let's do it.
All right. Last Starfighter, Enemy Mine or Dune?
Dune.
Okay. Why Dune?
Let me see. It's kind of got this beachy feel.
Okay.
You know, lots of sand. Yep.
I don't know. For me, I'm tied between Enemy Mine and The Last Starfighter because both are excellent movies. Dune's okay too, but the other two are my favorites.
Okay.
I know someone's going to clip that, like, Dune's okay too. It's okay. You can send me the emails, people. All right. And because we're polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Labyrinth, The Never-Ending Story, or Princess Bride?
You know, I'd have to say Labyrinth.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
just a little bit more nebulous, and the way things are sort of chained together and stuff like that, I think.
Well, for a lot of people, the Labyrinth, they either really like the contrived plot, which is what you talked about, or it's David Bowie. Those are the two almost universal answers you get from people. There isn't a middle ground on that one. For my sisters, it was David Bowie. For me, I mean, the plot was kind of cool, and the Monsters Under Your Bed theme was awesome. I liked it. And at some point in time in the future, dear listener, we are going to add those to our retro movie review list, although we already have done The Princess Bride. But Never-Ending Story we've done as well. But Labyrinth we have not, and so it is on the list, dear listener.
Well, true confession, David Bowie, yeah, he kind of put it over the top for me.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
All right, and since you answered your favorite dinosaur last time, what is your favorite zoo animal?
My favorite zoo animal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You know, I remember as a kid, we went to the Bronx Zoo in New York City, and they have, and I hope they still have it, the House of Darkness. And in the House of Darkness, it was all dark. True story, but anyway, you were walking down these kind of sort of like almost like glass tubes, and they had all these snakes in their natural habitat and stuff on the other side of the glass. But they had a sign on the glass that said, "Please don't tap the glass. What would you do if it broke?" So I got to give you a snake. Yep.
That would definitely make me not touch the glass.
Yes. Yeah, it was something else. I mean, pythons, everything else like that. And of course, you know, I was maybe 5 years old then. So, you know, pythons are big, but when you're 5 years old, they're really big.
Now, could you see in the dark the actual snakes, or was it too dark for you to even be able to make them out?
No. The tanks had that, the hole and stuff where the humans was very, very dark, but the tanks some of them had like black light, some of them had just a little bit of light, like a heat lamp or something. So the only illumination was on the tanks, which were on the other side of the glass.
Okay. That's cool.
It really was.
Do you like reptilian, cold-blooded creatures in general, or was it just the novelty of the way it was presented that you liked?
You know, I have to say I do like them in general. And when I was in South Dakota, I mean, I saw this really big snake in the middle of the road, and I was afraid it was going to get run over. We don't have much traffic up there. I don't know why I was afraid of that. But anyway, so I go out in the road without knowing what it was, and it was pretty dark. And I picked this thing up and, ran across the street and tossed it into some grass. And then when I got home and I relayed the story to the locals there, they were telling me, if you don't know what it is, don't touch it, that we got rattlers out here. I remember, really cool story with rattlers. I mean, we had a friend of mine wanted to go up this big hill. Everyone really likes to do hiking and stuff like that. And but she's not someone who walks often. And so she was huffing and puffing and out of breath. And so she sat on this rock, and my glasses were off, but I saw the surface of the rock move. And so
Wow.
that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. So I put my hand down, I got my glasses, I put them up, and I saw that, the whole surface of the rock were rattlers. They were sunning themselves. And so I said, Pat, do not turn around. I want you to get up slowly and walk towards me. And so she got up, she took one step, and then she turned around, then she ran all the way down the hill like a maniac. And then she was on her inhaler for like the rest of the afternoon.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
It's like whenever you tell anyone to calm down and don't look behind you, what's the first thing they're going to do? Hyperventilate and look behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole, I couldn't get over it. I mean, but my friend told me, because I was kind of new there at the time, she said, they love sunning themselves, and they like all getting together on a big rock or something and just sunbathing. And I'm like, oh, I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they were distracted and lethargic, so everything ended well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they were happier that she got off the rock. They weren't necessarily going to come after her. They were going to just take up, the place where she had been sitting.
Yikes.
Lucky her.
Lucky her. All right. And so we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So coffee or tea, and since you're out in the desert, how do you take it?
Let me see now. I am now in the middle of the country because I'm a serial mover. So I am in the Rust Belt, and I take green tea, which everyone says is, oh, that's so much better. It has less caffeine. Well, since it has less caffeine, that means I can have more chocolate. Yeah.
Okay.
I got my priorities straight.
Okay. So you also like hot chocolate then, if you're a chocolates fan?
Well, hot chocolate, yes, but I generally have a generous slab of dark chocolate every morning because I'm depriving myself of caffeine by drinking green tea.
Seems like a fair trade-off to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like iced teas as well when it gets hot?
Yes, I do. I have been known to play around with that. And the laundromat where I go, which has it's classic Rust Belt laundromat. I mean, everything there is pre-1950, and sometimes they're held together with pliers and other implements of torture. They have a really, really old soda machine. And, if you put your money in and then you proceed to shake and tip over the machine for half an hour, you may eventually get what you paid for. And they have some iced tea in there, which is just absolutely divine. I don't even know the name of it. I can't find it anywhere else, though. Maybe it's from 1952. I don't know.
Maybe it's a science experiment, and they're just seeing what happens when people drink old tea.
Yeah. But it comes out of the machine at like 15 degrees. You get like frostbite on your fingers when you try to open the can, but it's good stuff.
Gotta have your priorities. What's a little frostbite among friends?
Yeah.
So what have you been up to creative wise since the last time we've talked? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the books you've written, but have you been watching anything good? Have you read any good books lately?
Yeah, actually, I have. We have someone in this town, and he is. He's a very. He follows his own path. He's a very unique pastor, and he wrote a book called Holy Freakin' Scabula. And that's where he takes, stories from the Bible, and then he will then interpret it, and then he will then, but he'll interpret it in like a modern text, like, Jesus is on the drive-through at KFC when he sees like a conflict or something. I mean, it's just really, really out there. But I mean, so he does modern interpretation, and then he does his interpretation and stuff. And, so they all kind of, at the end of all three interpretations, it has the moral of the story is this or that. But, that's really so far out of left field and very unique. He's a very unique person. He's not a follower. But I never saw anyone take, religion, and then look at it from the different perspectives and lenses that he is doing. And, you'll never look at a drive-through the same, or any of this other stuff. It's really, it's really interesting.
I will look that up and link that in the show notes, dear listener. Have you watched any good shows or movies lately?
Let me see. Let me see. What was the last show or movie? I'm guilty of watching little clips of things, like when I have like 5 minutes until I have to go or something. So I was watching a lot of clips from Jaws, of course, because you had the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And just the intro from that was just so amazing, how that girl gets dragged sideways for like 20 feet and then dragged sideways back so rapidly at 20 feet and stuff. And, it's that the intro, you could probably study that intro for quite a while, and try to figure out how did they do that without killing the actress, because it really does look like some unseen force under the water is just dragging her around and tossing her. And I remembered the movie, but I just didn't remember it was that good. And it really is good. So, I realize that's not sci-fi, but, since it had its anniversary, I was pretty much stuck on that, and then of course I had to watch the Ozzy's farewell concert. And, it was amazing how well preserved some of the performers are,
Yeah, so as we're recording this, because we're airing this on August 11th, so it's after the launch date of the end of her trilogy. But as we're recording this, it is the 24th of July. So Ozzy Osbourne recently passed. Hulk Hogan died today. There was a musician who also passed, a jazz musician who recently
Chuck Mangione.
Yes. So
yes, because they happen in threes.
Right.
That a third person died, because if they didn't, we would be nervous. It might be our turn. But anyway, Chuck Mangione, the jazz trumpeter, he became the third death, so we can all breathe. It's not us. Not this time. But deaths come in threes, people say.
Yeah, but it was also the same week. It was the Julian McMahon, who was Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movies this week. And then it was, I'm trying to think, it was Connie Francis, who did the Stupid Cupid in 57, I think.
Yep.
And then who was there? There was one more, the guy that was the brother in the Cosby Show. Marcus something.
Yeah, he drowned. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we've exceeded.
Madison. So it's been a lot this week.
Yeah, we've exceeded our, die in groups of three thing.
Yeah, it was the Michael Madison one I recognized because he played Cole in Charmed, and my sisters were like addicted to that show. So he was one of the demons.
Okay.
That they were fans of, because that was the Charmed was what? That was dark romance before dark romance was a thing. With all the demons and angels that were falling in love with all the humans and witches and such. Very CW as far as it goes.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's been an interesting week. So was the concert good? I did not check it out. It is on my list though.
It was it was really interesting if you were fans of those bands that did the music with him and stuff. Like, I mean, Judas Priest, that guy still has, fantastic voice, but he looks kind of different. He's grown this dramatic sort of white beard now and everything. And some of the other ones, I mean, they're playing and everything was all top notch. And they really did delve into the lyrics and stuff on War Pigs and stuff like that.
I love that song.
Yeah. Yeah. And, people, when he was coming up and when he, started his career, people they didn't give him the respect he deserved. But now when they had other artists talking about the depth of War Pigs and stuff like that, he got his due. I mean, but that show, for me, that show was really great because I was into some of those bands growing up. And then, to see them now and see they still have the same vitality and see how their appearance has changed and stuff. It was really cool.
And that can be hard because, professional music can be hard on your vocals if you're singing all the time. So when you get like singers that still have it years later, that's something. And of course, you never know if that's just genetics or they did crazy routines to take care of their vocal cords or what. But so we moved around a lot as a Navy brat. So for me, like the music, that was the one thing you could take anywhere you went. And I don't know if you remember, but you used to be able to do the Columbia Music House CD programs, and you'd get the first however many free, and you just keep canceling it.
Yeah.
I feel bad now, and I'm like, I probably should have paid for those. But you'd order it and then cancel your subscription after you got your free ones. And then every time you moved, you just did it again.
No, that's kind of one of the inspirations, I guess, for the eye in the sky that is watching all of us now. And that AI and stuff like that, because there was just so many ways to get around things. And now everything is kind of watching you. So
like the old, you didn't want to pay for collect call, so your last name would be, hey, it's Joe and I'm at the movies or whatever as your last name. Yeah. So you didn't have to actually call. You just let the collect call message. And then of course you just reject the collection call.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that one in the pager commercials from the 80s and 90s were hilarious. So okay, well, we came here to talk about your trilogy, The Base, which, like I said, at the airing of this one, the third will have launched. And to show that, as sponsor of this episode, you have recorded a trailer. Now, before we hit start on the trailer, do you want to talk about what it's for and kind of what you envision it for, and then we'll air it?
Sure. The Base book series is being adapted to hopefully be like a streaming series. I'm really aiming for that. And so what we did on the website, you'll notice there is what they call a pitch deck and a synopsis. And so those are things that film industry people look at. They look at the pitch deck to kind of get an idea of what the whole series is like. I mean, when you have a book, you just kind of write the summary just for that one book. But the pitch deck gives them an idea of the whole series. So I have some really freaky pictures that I took. And I have that on that part of the website. And then decided to film a film trailer to also illustrate some of the things and to drive home the concept of, hey, folks, this could translate into moving images, not just words.
Okay. And with that, we're going to air the trailer that you filmed, and then we'll get into talking about the books.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, I'm here to pick up my order.
I'm sorry, it's running a bit late.
I don't like to be kept waiting.
No more questions, no We are not going to give up.
We're live with the search party, and the search is on, Diane. What are your thoughts?
Well, I see they have the canine patrol out too.
So there's helicopters coming in now, Diane.
Okay. Microfilaments and brain sensory implants have all been extracted.
We need to do another draft with more skin to compensate for when Vector 1 is ready.
Yes, we can do it. We're almost there.
Then the invention will be perfect and complete.
We will not give up. All right. It's beautiful.
You may have been broken. We all have, sure. But you don't have to stay broken. You may have fallen down, but in this gym, we don't stay down.
Now, it's finally perfect.
Awesome.
Finished.
Just until our next assignment.
All right. Thank you for taking us through that commercial interlude. So that is the trailer. Just a kind of a proof of concept more than, potentially what the final product would look like. So are you envisioning recording this yourself or potentially like contracting that out with somebody else?
I would like to have someone who does this all the time. I mean, I would like to be involved, but I think that having someone who does this all the time and that's their primary expertise and stuff, that would be the way to go to get the best possible thing.
Okay. So with the series wrapping up, and then we'll start actually talking about the series in case people missed this episode last year. With the series wrapping up, are you planning on writing more in this universe or are you going to move on to other worlds?
Well, I have, I'm adapting the book series into the screenplay. So I still have one foot in the old world, but then
Right.
I have a different world that every now and then I visit and do a little work on. And I like that world too.
Okay. Now, is that world close to coming out as well, or is that one more back burner, build it when you can?
It is, it's back burner because I'm trying to put all my, almost all my energy. I mean, sometimes you get home and you just want to visit the new world, and, but I am putting, the majority of my resources into the base right now. So that is where things are.
Okay. So let's talk about the base. Can you give us the synopsis of what this universe is? And as you do that, I'll pull the covers up.
Sure. Basically, the base is the most notorious military lab in the world, is where elite scientists create top secret inventions. They must be extremely vigilant because the military's new toys are very appealing to Miss Venus, the tempestuous supervillain, and her clients. What is really going on inside those harmless looking buildings at the edge of town? This is a white-hot tale of honor against deceivers, ruthless spies and thieves in wholesome-looking towns that could be next door to you. The base books are the foundation for the series. So that is the synopsis, or the whole series condensed into a few paragraphs. What are your thoughts?
Definitely sounds interesting. So is this more of a adventure story or more of like a mystery thriller?
Well, I think I would call it suspenseful. I would call it suspenseful fiction with a side order of science, because, it is science fiction, but it's just not really heavy in that. I mean, there is a fair amount of science in it and stuff, but it's not so deep and complex. The drama between the spies and the scientists, it's really a roller coaster there. They keep trying to steal the inventions, and the scientists have to fight back with their wits. And the spies and the thieves are actually not too smart. I mean, they really want to get a hold of this invention because they know they can sell it and stuff like that. But do you really want something like that in the trunk of your car if you don't know what to do with it or how to turn it off, or you know what I'm saying?
So do you explain why this isn't being done at Area 51?
Let me see. What I explain in there when I'm doing the world building is that the base that they're at is where they send the cream of the crop, the top scientists in the military go there to do the development and stuff like that. But it's in a very undesirable area, and they deliberately put this base in just kind of a junky area, because they don't want to encourage spies and thieves to go there. They want it to be like, oh, this place is inhospitable. I don't want to stay here too long. And
well, the benefit of putting it in a small town is everybody who knows everybody. So they're either going to be locals or they're going to be working at the government buildings. Mm-hmm. And anybody not in those two categories is going to stand out, I think, as well.
Well, that's why the spies, particularly Miss Venus, I say that Venus dresses for deception. That they, she may be extremely wealthy and have everything where she lives. But when she is venturing out to be among the common people and stuff like that, she makes herself look pretty common. I mean, she'll be wearing the soccer mom, T-shirt from the local high school and leggings and stuff. She'll just sort of do what she's going to do to just kind of blend into the surroundings and be, just pass inspection. Like no one turns around or thinks twice. But that's what makes her like doubly devilish, that she can just that she's very calculating in that way about how she presents herself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of book 3, does that wrap up the universe? Is it seal the trilogy, or is it just the third book in an ongoing series?
I think the base is just a trilogy, and I think all the little loose ends and stuff are tied up at the end of book 3. And it is a roller coaster. There's a lot of little things to consider, and it's just so I mean you encounter little nuggets of information. I mean, some people call them Easter eggs. You encounter them and then they pop up elsewhere and stuff. And there's also little worlds within the world. Like I really took a lot of joy in writing about hell. Because when we are raised and stuff like that, when they talk to us about hell, it's bad. But and what I did in the base series is that the devil really knows you. He knows you the same way the creator would know you. He knows every thought you think. He knows everything that you really intensely dislike. So when you get sent down to hell, you may be sharing a cell that is the size of like a twin mattress and you may be sharing that with the one person you despise the most on earth. And every meal is going to be like, those god-awful deviled eggs that your mother-in-law made that are so salty that they're crunchy. And, so all the things that you couldn't stand up there, you're going to have every single day. And so I made it very silly, There's a lot of humor when I wrote about hell. And I also tried to make it a place where the people in hell could see everything that was going on upstairs. And they could smell it, and they could do everything but be seen and heard, and they could sort of semi-participate in what was going on up there, but they weren't seen or heard. So when one of the characters goes into a bakery, you're just surrounded by the most wonderful aromas. The perfume of all these cookies and everything like that is just wrapping around you and giving you a hug. But you can't have any because you're in hell. And the food they have in hell is really bad. Yeah. So that's sort of, spoiler alert, that is sort of what some of the different worlds that you will find within the world of the base.
So one of the things we talked about in the pre-show while I was downloading the commercial so we could air that was, you mentioned that because you have these characters doing research, because it's a government research facility, you did some of your own. So what kind of science research and prep did you do for this series?
Well, the series, you start out with the 3 scientists, and they're working together, and the military gives them a checklist of attributes that the device has to have. And, things like it has to, say, for example, temperature range, like it has to be able to go from 40 to below to 140, because that's what it would encounter inside a tank in, say, the desert in the Middle East. So these scientists, they have this whole list of attributes that they have to have, that device has to be capable of, and has to have these, these different attributes. And so sometimes that requires bringing in an additional scientist. Like, let's bring in a scientist whose expertise is on weather. And that way we can take some attributes from the weather conditions that we experience, and then put them into the device. And then let's take a research scientist whose expertise is in DNA reverse engineering. That was really fascinating. And I wound up going off on a bit of a tangent there. I was studying neurological reverse engineering, and I found out something really interesting. Like, amputees, they have something called phantom pain. And that's when, they no longer have their arm, but their finger hurts. And it's a phantom sensation for a limb, phantom limb sensation. And so there was some really, really interesting studies on how to repair that. One of them was that they do specific exercises in front of a mirror when they're looking at the mirror with their different eyes and trained different, ways. And that the image from the eye, say, look at your right arm with your left eye, that could teach the brain that there was no longer a limb there. So the brain would sort of give an error message about the limb being there, because you were teaching it with using these mirror exercises. And I just found that all just fascinating. So I was on a podcast for the Neuro Careers, and really fascinating scientists were on that as well. And they discussed that study a bit, and then other things. I mean, one of the most interesting things they came up with on that particular podcast is, instead of using your fingerprint or, a facial image for the cell phones and stuff like that, they're going to use brain patterns. And it's not that far off. So that will be your identifier, that your brain patterns. And like your thoughts and stuff. And what I said to that is like, well, what happens on New Year's Eve when you're like really drunk and your brain doesn't exactly have like the same pattern to it or something? You know, are you going to be able to open up your door, open up your phone, or, you know, is it not going to recognize you because you're just a little fuzzy? So, so we had, you know, very lively discussion about all these things that the future holds.
Okay, that's interesting. Makes you wonder what kind of like, could you copy those signals and then like create a device that mirrors it to get in? Like, I don't know. It gets some interesting questions.
Yeah, they were trying to come up with things that were, you know, impermeable, and it was just really interesting what the next wave of, the next wave of identity theft. Someone's gonna have to steal your thoughts. You know.
Yeah. And in the movies right now, when people do that and you want to show they're doing the thing, they're like cutting off fingers or eyeballs out so you could pass the retinal scan or the fingerprint. And then now it's like, okay, well, we got to actually take the whole head, so we have the brain signals. It's going to make it very murky if you want to, you know, hack someone's biofeedback in future sci-fi. Okay. Was there any other of the research that you did that was that you incorporated into the novel? I know you talked about weather, for instance.
Yeah, the weather, that was interesting because I had to, you know, I had to do a lot of research on lightning. And then since the other scientists had these other areas of expertise, it was lightning and then the conductivity in the different forms of webs or silk that these other insects would spin. And, you know, you can get a respectable shock off a spider web. But bagworms, who, if you've never experienced them, they're exceptionally evil. They mainly eat like evergreens, but they spin like tremendously strong silk. I mean, if you've ever, and then they're very very sinister. I mean, they make these pods out of the waste from the trees that they're killing. So it almost looks like a pine cone. But it's really, if you look at it close, they take the silk and they just string the pine needles around, and it looks just like a pine cone. And, you know, so they do a good deal of camouflage too. It's really, really crazy.
Okay. Did you start writing this series expecting that you would have to do that kind of research, or were you kind of shocked?
No, I realized that I would have to make it credible. Like, you don't want to insult your audience and have your audience be like, are you nuts? Like, you think I don't understand that, or you think I don't know that, or whatever. So you have to make it credible. And so, you know, so to do that, you have to do the research. Like when you're writing about something, when you're writing about insects, and you're making your book series something that you would like people on all 7 continents to want to get into, then you have to, you know, take a look at your bugs. I mean, you know, are they on all 7 continents? You know, so I had to, you know, research, you know, all of them, and I had to research, like I said, the effects of lightning on different types of insect silk and stuff like that. And then when I got into the Hercules beetle, that was pretty interesting. The Hercules beetle could probably fit in the palm of my hand, and a grown one is about 4 ounces. But they're capable of like pulling or lifting someone who's like 160 pounds. So, yeah, that was not expected. That was pretty cool.
Do you normally because you're mentioning you're working on other properties at the moment, do you like incorporating real science into your speculative fiction, or is it just specifically this universe that lent itself?
Well, I think this universe lent itself very well to it because I mean they're military research scientists, and they're all collaborating on an invention. So, and then you also had to have the accuracy there, because if the military entomologist, the expert on bugs, if he is putting his input in, and then the scientist, the military meteorologist is putting her input in, to make these things work on their project. You have to be accurate on them. That was a lot of fun also because they have different personalities too. The scientists, like the bug man is very quirky and he's sort of a bit of a prankster. And Mr. Clark just kind of reins everyone in. I mean, he's the one who can animate any device. You can give him, a shoe and tell him, make that thing run around, and he would be able to program it and put in microfilaments to make it run around.
Okay. That would definitely be interesting to see the final result of.
Yeah, I mean, it's as accurate as it's going to get, but I mean, there's a healthy dose of imagination in there, but it's interesting when you look at fiber octaves, how fine and how thin those cords are and how much memory they carry. And then similarly, the chips that we put into our pets, they're about the size of a grain of rice, and it has all kinds of information in there.
I wonder if that's something that you could do to a human. Could they be tagged in such a way?
Oh, totally. And that's one thing. I mean, a while ago there was this character, Timothy McVeigh, who bombed, the Oklahoma Federal Building, and he kept on saying that the military had put a chip in his neck or whatever like that. And he was saying that a couple of years before everyone started to put chips in their cats and dogs. So, I'm not trying to give him any credibility or anything like that, but, you can chip people. If you can chip, a cat, you can chip a person,
Okay, that's both interesting and scary at the same time.
Yes, it is. Especially like when they chipped my cat. I don't know if you've ever had a pet chipped.
I have, but they were chipped when we got them.
Okay. When I had my cat chipped, they just do it with a syringe. And, yeah, I mean, and so, it's just a syringe and, you would think the cat was just getting an injection or something, but the particle that they're putting in her, the actual chip, like the veterinarian said, this is the size of a grain of rice. It's going to go sort of between her, butt fat and muscle and stuff. It's just going to be like mildly irritating for a few hours, and then it's just going to be part of her. But I mean, when you see the vet do it, just a regular syringe, and the cat is, pretty much indifferent, then, you see how easy it is. And so when I had my cat chipped, I would say that was about 15 years ago. Those chips are probably now the size of a poppy seed.
Interesting. So the town where you set this, is this a real place, or did you kind of create a fictional town? I know you've lived a lot of places, and the last time you mentioned you used some of that as inspiration, but does this town actually exist, or was it created for the purposes of the series?
It was created for the purposes of the series. When I was in South Dakota, I had lived close to the base out there. And bases are interesting because in their peripheral, they have this little halo of stores and businesses and stuff. Once you get off base, then you start to get into this transition area, and then you get into the next town. And the transition area sometimes has, just these little bars and these little rundown like bodegas, little stores and stuff. And, so that one town that the base was in, like the peripheral area was just kind of like seedy and stuff and little nefarious characters there and stuff. So it inspired it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mentioned this was somewhat of also a globe-trotting book, is this like, are they just passing through, or do you have whole set out scenes in some of these locations?
Let me see. There, in book one, they do go to visit Portugal to study venom, specifically the type of jellyfish venom there. And I had an encounter myself as a child with that. And that stuff is, if you want to put something in a weapon, that is your stuff right there, because it's not biodependent. I mean, the jellyfish itself could be dead and be dead for a while, and that venom will still be kicking. And it can still do damage and stuff. And it's also kind of very seductive. Like when you see a dead jellyfish on the beach, like the man of war and stuff, just the most beautiful colors. I mean, it looks like it's blown glass or something. It is so eye-catching. And, just as a kid, I remember running up and seeing this beautiful, like turquoise and purple and silvery thing. And, it's just the first thing you want to do with it is just grab it and touch it and, pick it up. And that's the worst thing you can do in that situation. Even if it's dead and that's why it's on the beach, I mean, that venom is going to be alive and kicking for a long time.
Okay. So is this told mostly from one person's point of view, or do you get several of the characters you get inside their head?
Yeah, it starts out, the book starts out from the point of view of the 5-year-old daughter of Cullen, one of the scientists. And so you're seeing things from her perspective. Like she knows that she lives on a military base, and that her father has a job doing secrets, and that he's not allowed to talk about what he does. And, your best friend and his family live across the street, and they also do secrets, and so do your neighbors. Everyone is doing secrets, and no one can talk about what they do. And so that right there is kind of like an odd setting that, being told from the child's perspective, like everyone, to her, this is sort of normal, like, our parents and whatnot, they go to this place and they work on a secret, and they come back home and they can't talk about anything because it's secret. And so at least the neighborhood kids and whatnot, like they all have this in common, that they live in this place where everybody is working on some big secret and no one can talk about what they're doing. So later in the book, you start to see things from some of the other characters' points of view and stuff, and their perspective. That can get a little interesting because some of them are very, very quirky, but it also can be a lot of fun.
Okay. Is this one where you, as far as like ratings, because obviously some people are listening, trying to decide if this book is appropriate for their kids. So how would you rate this book? Because I mean, obviously some of the science sounds like it's going to be kind of highbrow, like, and that there's a room in the market for that. But as far as like, if you were doing a movie theater rating, would this be R, PG-13?
Well, I mean, let me see. There's no profanity. There's no nudity. And, but there bad things happen when someone steals a military weapon. Like sometimes you have explosions and things like that. So I would say, probably PG-13. Some of the other sort of adult themes are sort of, they're not described graphically or stuff like that. Like the family has a neighbor who has overnight guests. And one time, one of the overnight guests, she's trying to leave, and and she can't really get out because her host has fallen asleep in front of the door or something. And so, this girl is just enraptured by this lady. Like, she's never seen someone with sparkly blue eyelids before, and cowboy boots with butterflies on them and whatnot. And then that her shorts have strings that, they're torn, but she has these strings hanging down, So, I mean, you're talking, slumber party and stuff like that. It's not a ditty party, okay? But I mean, you know what you're kind of talking about, but it's just when you have it, a child's perspective on it, like, oh, he had a guest over there, and the lady wants to leave, and he's still asleep. Meanwhile, us adults can sort of fill in the blanks that this guy probably had too much to drink and he's sleeping it off, and the lady needs to go to her job or whatever like that, But, that kind of thing can be kind of silly, but it's all implied. It's up for, it's the same way, like sometimes you can have a grown-up read some Dr. Seuss books, and they have a lot of depth to them when an adult, is reading them. But when a kid is reading them, they're just sort of getting a surface story. So it's not heavy. It's not rated R. It's not rated X. It's not, copious violence or anything. There are explosions and things like that. And folks do die. But if they didn't, what on earth would happen? I mean, how do you have a book without knocking off a few characters? Isn't that mandatory?
I think it's required. It's in the handbook somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any overarching themes that you explore in this universe?
Let me see. I think there is a lot of fun, especially when the scientists collaborate, and they're very, very quirky people, and they collaborate on a common goal, and when they collaborate against a villain. So I guess overarching theme, probably there is some good and evil in there, but that's sort of underneath some of the layers of what they're doing. And then also, I mean, I just think competency is really stressed, because, you can have someone who may have a lot of money or resources to steal an idea, but if they don't have the competency to follow through with that invention and understand that invention and, work it, they are really SOL, they're in trouble. They got problems, So having competency and really developing your mind to an extent that you can, fight off these predators and win all, that's a big thing there.
Okay. Is there anything about this series that we didn't talk about that you feel like listeners and readers would need to know?
Well, I think that, if you wind up going down south, meaning, way, way south, like, going down to hell kind of south, that, the devil's been waiting for you. He knows what makes you absolutely miserable. and so, he's ready for you. And, you might not necessarily want that, but like I said, the hell scenes are a lot of fun. But you don't want to go there. You'd rather just read about it and say, okay, think I'm going to behave. Don't necessarily want to go there.
Okay. So if people wanted to track you down, how might they find you online?
Let me see. You can find me on my website is danteterese.com. And there's all kinds of fun things happening in the universe of my life. anyway, you'll see the books on there. You'll see me, and you can send me questions or comments there. And there are links to the YouTube channels. There's more than one channel. The base has a channel, but then I also write this crazy little thing called the Sidewalk Report, which is on there, and it's micro local journalism from the Rust Belt.
Okay. This is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, and it really does make a difference when we're talking about small creators and indie authors and indie filmmakers. Reviews are the lifeblood of the industry, so it really does make a difference. You can find us on our link tree at linktr.ee, linktree/Blasters and Blaze Podcast. Again, linktree/Blasters and Blaze Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTube, the TikToks, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blaze Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandblazepodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandblazepodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee, brand coffee, till it pours out of their eyeballs and will swim away on a river of Java goodness. These episodes aren't free to produce, and every penny does make a difference. So we greatly appreciate your patronage. And if you want some of that coffee brand coffee, link is in the show notes. Discount code is Podcast Grunt. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blaze Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. Thanks for coming back, Teresa. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
All right, with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait for it.